For over 20 years, King Willem-Alexander and Queen Máxima have been a power couple. And they still seem as in love as ever. What makes the marriage of Willem-Alexander and Máxima so special? The royal couple now reveals the secret to their successful royal romance. But it wasn't always a fairy tale. Welcome to Life of Royals. If you want to stay informed of all the news about our royals, be sure to subscribe to our channel and already give this video a thumbs up. By now, everyone knows Queen Máxima. Not only in the Netherlands, but all over the world, the Dutch queen is a well-known royal. But 20 years ago, Máxima Zorreida was still a complete unknown. But then came an encounter that would turn her whole life upside down. Willem-Alexander and Máxima met in April 1999 in Seville during a Spanish festival called La Feria de Abril. Máxima is invited to take pictures. When she takes a picture of a tall blonde young man, he gets angry. She doesn't understand why. That blonde young man turned out to be the Dutch crown prince, and Willem-Alexander didn't like being photographed at a party. I thought, who is she? Willem-Alexander would later reveal about that first meeting. That awkward first meeting didn't ruin anything, because that same evening the couple would have danced the night away together. Máxima jokes to her friends about how awkwardly the Dutch boy dances. For Willem-Alexander it is love at second sight, but it is not immediately reciprocated. Máxima is an independent girl with dreams for the future that do not include a prince and a life at court. Later, a mutual friend would introduce them for real. The two meet for the second time in New York at a wedding of mutual friends. We started talking quite quickly and it turned out that we were interested in each other a bit more. King Willem-Alexander explains about that second meeting in the Big Apple. Although Máxima wasn't really convinced yet. I didn't really like him, but that has improved, Queen Máxima winks. Máxima still doesn't like it, but they keep calling each other, and there are more meetings. After all, Willem-Alexander had aroused her curiosity. At that time, Máxima lives in New York where she works for Deutsche Bank. Willem-Alexander has to explain to his mother early on why her son travels to New York so often. Willem-Alexander later tells in a TV interview that he told his mother, her name is Máxima. She's Argentinian, lives in New York, and trust me. Don't ask any more questions now. Máxima also tells her family a little later that she has a new boyfriend. And that the relationship is quite serious. But to admit that she is dating a prince? She doesn't dare. Máxima doesn't tell her family right away that she has met a real prince. At first she says that her new boyfriend is a blonde lawyer. Later she accidentally made him a consultant and then the profession changed so regularly that her father didn't trust it anymore. When she finally admits that she is in a relationship with the son of Queen Beatrix, her father doesn't know who she is talking about. She explains to her father that Willem-Alexander is the eldest son of the Queen of the Netherlands. To which he says, "Are you crazy or what?" 2 weeks later, father and mother Zorreida are on Máxima's doorstep to check on their daughter and to see for themselves if, and I quote, "everything was okay with me." Eventually the attitude changes. They see from Máxima that she is very happy with Willem-Alexander. That summer, Máxima is introduced to Willem-Alexander's parents in Italy, at Beatrix's holiday home. In the afternoon, the couple also go sailing with Prince Bernhard and Princess Juliana. Prince Claus advises Máxima to learn Dutch as soon as possible. In the autumn of 1999, after the Dutch newspaper De Volkskrant was the first to break the news about Willem-Alexander's new girlfriend in September, she starts her first lessons. In January, the first paparazzi photograph Máxima while she is going about her daily business in New York. Máxima is still listed in the phone book and journalists keep calling her. In the spring of 2000, Máxima moves to Brussels. She continues to work for Deutsche Bank but at the same time takes a crash course in Dutch. In Brussels, Maxima has to learn to get used to living in Europe, and she has to learn what it means to be a princess, and whether she wants to connect her further life to a royal family. But then a first crisis erupts for the lovebirds. In the meantime, the Dutch of the Argentinian beauty was good enough to follow the Dutch press as well. The Dutch press, but also the Dutch gossip magazines. And in those magazines, disturbing news appeared. Maxima read in a gossip magazine that Willem-Alexander had met up with his ex, Emily Bremers, once again. For Maxima, it had been a difficult and lonely year, and the constant rumors were the last straw. It led to a big fight between the couple at Brussels airport. Just before Christmas, Maxima told Willem-Alexander she wanted to be alone and left for her home country. Willem-Alexander had never seen his beloved so angry. The then Crown Prince realized he had to intervene. Willem-Alexander flew to Buenos Aires to make it clear to Maxima and her family that he took their relationship seriously. Together with the Zorrietas, New Year's Eve and their reconciliation were celebrated with a remarkable toast by Willem-Alexander to Maxima's last year as a single girl. But while Willem-Alexander and Maxima have glued the pieces back together and are getting to know each other better, a second crisis erupts. In the Netherlands, news breaks about the past of Maxima's father and his role in the Videla dictatorship. All hell breaks loose. Willem-Alexander makes a big mistake when he tries to defend Jorge Zorrieta and uses a letter in his defense. Unfortunately, it's from the wrong source, Videla himself. The whole country turns against him. The solution is sad but unavoidable. Maxima's father cannot be present at the wedding. Even before the wedding in 2001, there was a conflict between the then Dutch Prime Minister, the Crown Prince, and the then Queen Beatrix about the presence of Jorge Zorrieta at the wedding. The Dutch Prime Minister believed that Maxima's father should not be there because of his role in the Argentine dictatorship. The Dutch Parliament would only agree to the marriage if Jorge Zorrieta had confirmed that he would not be present. A decision that Beatrix found extremely painful. Although she understood the demand of the politicians, on a human level it was hard, Beatrix admitted. Later, Beatrix would reflect on that particularly difficult decision. I cannot imagine that it was easy, certainly not for my daughter-in-law who joined our family. New country, new family. I believe that everyone who joins a new family does have some trouble with that, and that is a fairly well-known phenomenon, Beatrix said. But in this case it was of course extra difficult. A lot was also asked of her. The pressure was very high on her and her family. Eventually the decision was made that her parents, or her father in this case, could not be there. That was of course extremely painful and sad. Although Beatrix was convinced it was the right decision. Sources at the court would also confirm that it was ultimately Maxima herself who made the decision and agreed that her father should stay home for the wedding to proceed in all serenity. Among other things, the absence of her father would lead to the famous tear at the wedding that touched the world. With that tear, Maxima won even more hearts. There are several theories about why she cried. Everyone seems to have their own story about Maxima's legendary tear. Whether it was because she missed her father while the somewhat sad song Adios Nanino played, which means goodbye daddy, or that she became emotional because she was marrying the man of her dreams, or because she was saying goodbye to her old life. But according to Maxima herself, it was simply because of the music. After the tear, the kiss on the balcony would follow as another highlight during the ceremony. But what exactly happened before that wedding? Willem-Alexander proposed to Maxima on January 19 in the garden of Palais Huis ten Bosch, on the frozen pond. Willem-Alexander lures his beloved outside with a trick, supposedly to teach her ice skating. This works quite well because she used to go rollerblading regularly in New York. However, Maxima is not very keen on the typical Dutch activity. She is cold and soon wants to go back inside. Willem-Alexander realizes he needs to hurry. In a shed he has hidden champagne. Without hesitation, he asks her the big question. The answer? A full-fledged yes, of course. I almost screamed it out, according to Maxima. Later, Queen Maxima would admit that she hadn't expected the proposal at all. Even when Willem-Alexander went to get the champagne, Maxima thought he was going for a cup of hot chocolate because she had heard that it was as big a tradition in the Netherlands as ice skating. But the warm cup of chocolate milk was replaced by champagne and then a marriage proposal. For safety reasons, Willem-Alexander did the proposal in English. I said something like, "I ask this for the first time in my life and the only time." Willem-Alexander later admitted that he had practiced endlessly on what he wanted to say. But in the end, the sentence never comes out the way you think beforehand, the king laughs many years later during an interview. In 2021, the royal couple would reenact the proposal on the ice again because that place meant so much to them. The engagement ring had been designed by Willem-Alexander himself, with some help. The orange stone in the middle naturally refers to the prince's last name and to Maxima's new fatherland. Of the Netherlands, she knows little at that time. She has seen almost nothing and knows the country mainly from pictures, TV, and Willem-Alexander's stories. In Brussels, she could at least become more accustomed to life in Europe anonymously, but the Belgian capital taught her little about the customs of its neighbor, the Netherlands, which would become her new home. However, Maxima had thought carefully about whether this was what she really wanted to do with her life. She knows what she is getting into and what she is giving up, and her decision is firm. I never thought I could ever be so in love with someone, Maxima later says in an interview. When the engagement of the Prince of Orange and Maxima Zorreida is announced, everyone is impressed by the impressive Dutch of the Argentinian. The lessons had paid off. Regarding Willem-Alexander's comments about her father's past, Maxima can be brief. "You were a bit stupid," she says. And with those words, she immediately wins the hearts of all Dutch people. After the engagement, the grand wedding had to wait for a little while. Maxima needs to improve her Dutch even more, and the Dutch royals want to give Prince Constantijn, Willem-Alexander's younger brother, and his beloved Laurentian all the space to celebrate their wedding first. Maxima, accompanied by her new fiancé, visits the whole country in the meantime, partly to get to know her new home better, but also so that the population can also get to know their future queen and welcome her. The date that Willem-Alexander and Maxima have chosen for their special day is a special one, February 2nd, 2002, or 02/02/02. Prince Willem-Alexander and Maxima Zorreida marry in Amsterdam under the eyes of about 6.2 million Dutch television viewers. A huge number for a country with barely 17 million inhabitants. Almost the entire country followed the wedding. Worldwide, an estimated 55 million people would have followed the wedding on television. And those 55 million people all saw how intensely happy that young couple looked at each other. For the ceremony, Maxima wears a dress by Valentino Couture and the diadem that Beatrix had worn at her inauguration. With this marriage, Maxima becomes Princess of the Netherlands, Princess of Orange-Nassau, and Lady von Omsburg. And the rest is history, as they say. But how is it that the couple still sparkles so much when they are together? Even after more than 20 years of marriage? There's a lot more to say about the love story between Maxima and Willem-Alexander. By the way, like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. King Willem-Alexander describes his love for Maxima like this: "She's just an extraordinary woman. I was very lucky to meet her. And even luckier that she wanted to share her life with me. She means everything to me." The king even goes a step further. "She means everything to me. My happiness at home, my children, everything I have is thanks to her. But she's also a friend," Willem-Alexander emphasizes. The Dutch press describes them as follows: "They complement each other well, but also differ enough to keep it exciting," emphasizing the secret behind the stable fairy tale marriage of Willem-Alexander and Maxima. Willem-Alexander still carries his queen on his shoulders, but Maxima's love remains strong too. Maxima is also very loyal, the Dutch media report. It is therefore not surprising that Maxima still sounds very much in love when she talks about her husband. Apart from being the father of my children and my husband, he's my anchor, Queen Máxima reveals. He keeps me sharp and he pushes me to do my work. But there's more, Maxima admits. At the same time, he holds me tight. I find that combination fantastic. We have a lot of fun together, with our children. A lot of humor, a lot of support. Maxima leaves no doubt about their loving bond. Nevertheless, not everyone was enthusiastic when Willem-Alexander introduced Maxima to the court. The then Queen Beatrix was not enthusiastic about Maxima when Willem-Alexander presented her as his new girlfriend. It even led to heated arguments within the palace. Initially, Beatrix found Maxima too frivolous and temperamental. But Beatrix's husband, Prince Claus, was completely smitten with his future daughter-in-law, and this helped break the ice between Beatrix and Maxima. And Maxima would not only conquer Willem-Alexander's heart, but soon her mother-in-law's as well. Beatrix also began to see that Maxima had an exceptional talent for winning over a whole gathering of people. She even got the stiffest footmen at court dancing. A gift that not only impressed Beatrix but also changed her. But above all, Beatrix saw how happy Maxima made her son. And that meant a lot to her. And in the meantime, Beatrix also let herself be influenced by the Latina character of her daughter-in-law. It's said that Princess Beatrix changed under Maxima's influence as well. She became much more relaxed and finally loosened up the reins a bit. And as royal watchers, we also witness that regularly. For example, we see Beatrix and Maxima interact warmly with each other during official visits. And sometimes even burst out laughing. The icing on the cake? The three beautiful granddaughters Maxima brought into Beatrix's world. And so, Maxima not only conquered the heart of Willem-Alexander, but also that of the entire royal family, and that of all the people in the Netherlands. Give this video a thumbs up if you think Maxima and Willem-Alexander are a wonderful couple, and subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with all the news about our royals.